There is a quiet force in financial markets, one that profits not when things rise, but when they fall. It is called short selling, and depending on who you ask, it is either a tool of truth or a weapon of destruction. At its core, short selling is simple. You borrow something, sell it today, and hope to buy it back later at a lower price. If you are right, you profit from decline. If you are wrong, your losses can be unlimited. Short sellers are, in a sense, the skeptics of the financial world. They challenge optimism, they question hype, they bet against consensus, and sometimes they are right. Imagine a company like Apple. A trader believes Apple is overvalued at $200 per share. A traditional short seller borrows shares, sells them, and later buys them back. They sell first and figure out delivery later. Multiply this behavior across millions of shares, and you begin to ask a dangerous question. Is the market reflecting reality or manufactured supply? This tension is not new. Short sellers were blamed for market crashes in the 1930s. They were restricted, then unleashed, then regulated again. Because society has always struggled with the same question, do short sellers stabilize markets or destabilize them? The answer is both. A lawful short seller can expose fraud, they can reveal overvaluation, they can bring truth to inflated markets. But when short selling becomes manipulation, when it becomes rumor, deception, or synthetic supply, it no longer discovers price, it creates price. And that is where ethics begin to fracture. In commodities, the story changes. Gold, oil, wheat, silver, these markets were built on futures contracts. You do not need to own the barrel of oil to sell the promise of oil. This is not necessarily abuse. It is how hedging works. It is how airlines lock in fuel costs, how miners lock in revenue. But it also creates something powerful, a paper market that can become much larger than the physical one. And this brings us to silver. For decades, some have argued that large banks, the so-called bullion banks, have suppressed the price of silver. Is this conspiracy or is it fact? The truth is uncomfortable. There have been real cases, real fines, real convictions. Traders at major banks have been caught manipulating precious metals markets through tactics like spoofing. That is not theory, that is documented reality. In 2018, the CFTC announced manipulation cases against Deutsche Bank, HSBC, and UBS in precious metals futures markets. In 2020, the CFTC ordered JP Morgan Chase to pay a record $920 million for market manipulation. Later convictions and sentences followed for former JP Morgan traders. But the larger claim that silver has been systematically suppressed for 30 years, that remains unproven. So we are left in a gray zone where manipulation has occurred, but the full story remains debated. Now, let us turn to Bitcoin, because something remarkable is happening. Bitcoin was born as a pure system, no intermediaries, no central authority, no synthetic supply, just mathematics and truth. But today, Bitcoin is entering the world it once sought to replace. We now have futures markets, options markets, exchange-traded funds, volatility indexes. In January 2024, the SEC approved spot Bitcoin exchange-traded products. In December 2024, the CBOE launched cash-settled index options tied to spot Bitcoin, a growing layer of paper Bitcoin built on top of real Bitcoin. And with that comes something new, the ability to hedge, to speculate, and perhaps to influence price. Since 2024, Bitcoin has a growing paper and derivatives layer, much like gold and silver. That makes the market deeper and more institutionally accessible, but also gives large players more tools to hedge, lever, arbitrage, and potentially influence short-term price formation. This is not an area for blockchain to intercede. Market shorting has been an established trading practice for decades. Blockchain can only determine ownership of a commodity or stock. It is not intended to regulate an industry. This does not mean the cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are being controlled, but it does mean Bitcoin is being financialized. It is becoming like gold. And history tells us, when paper markets grow larger than physical markets, price discovery can become complicated. So where does that leave us? Short selling is not the enemy. It is a tool, a necessary one. But like all powerful tools, it can be used to reveal truth or distort it. In the next video, we will discuss the dark side of short selling. Naked short selling, or selling an asset you don't own and haven't borrowed. This creates a questionable paper market and opens the system and Wall Street to closer scrutiny by the blockchain. In the final analysis, the question is not whether markets can be shorted, but whether they remain anchored to something real. Because in the end, a market is only as honest as its connection to reality. And perhaps that is the ultimate promise of the blockchain. Not just a new financial system, but a system where truth is no longer optional. Thank you for your attention to this matter.